anyway, I'm sorry. I got off track here. So the solar plexus, it governs our ability to take action. It's how we assert ourselves. And the most important part, it is how we set boundaries. Are you constantly allowing people to disrespect you? Are you constantly allowing people to say things that make you uncomfortable or do things that make you uncomfortable? That means you got some issues in that solar plexus, baby. And we got to fix that, because that's not it. That's not it. I'm not having it. I'm not having you walking around for the rest of your life like that. The solar plexus, it is located right in the upper abdomen. So just above your navel, all right, and below your sternum. It corresponds with your digestive system. This is why it is associated with Virgo, because we typically have a gut feeling about things. We typically are known for being intuitive, but that's where our intuition lies, is in our solar plexus. So it governs the stomach, the pancreas, the liver, and the gallbladder. The colors most associated with the solar plexus, and this isn't something I went over a lot with the other chakras. I didn't focus too much on the colors. I did and didn't. But this one is associated with yellow, gold, and amber. All right. So I think of the divine energy. I think of the sun when I think of the solar plexus. Okay. Now you might be like, well, that sounds a lot like the sacral chakra. Correct. Because they're near each other. All of these chakras are similar because they all connect. Just like we all connect. They all have a frequency. And the reason why I called it your inner solar system is that think of how all of the planets also connect. Think of how all of the planets feed off of each other, and they all have a frequency, and their frequencies combine. And when one is in retrograde, which would be considered, you could say that it's out of alignment, so to speak, then it can affect the others. So that is why I called it that. Okay. And I'm sure I'm not the first one that's ever said that. So the zodiac signs that are associated with the solar plexus outside of what I just said about Virgo are Leo, Aries, and Sagittarius. So the fire signs oftentimes you feel like I don't give you enough shine. Well, here's your shine. I'm about to give you Aries in particular. You want some more shine on my show. So when I do collective readings, and I mention certain signs, it's because those signs are the ones that I can tell tune in the most. I can pick up on that energy. So there is always Scorpio, Taurus, Pisces energy, because that means that those are diehard listeners of this podcast. And yes, I pick up on other signs, of course, but Cancer is another one. And honestly, I oftentimes feel like that's my mom's energy I'm picking up on, because she does listen to my show. Thanks, Mom. So signs that your solar plexus might be out of alignment, or that you feel powerless, insecure, or you're unable to stand up for yourself. That is where people like myself come in handy. Okay. Because I seek out people who have a hard time speaking up for themselves. Because don't let me see that somebody's being rude to you. Oh, now I'm about to ruin that person's day with just my own energy. Because that's what you're not going to do, is make my friend here whose solar plexus is out of alignment feel bad. That's what you're not about to do. And that mean girl side of me is something that I'll never be ashamed of, because I joke that it's like being a Robin Hood of the mean girls. Like, I will go after the bullies, but it's actually, that is how I really am. And so if your solar plexus, if this area about you is out of alignment, one thing I hope that you gain from Lua Nova is a little bit of of that mean girl side of me. I'm not saying that you have to be as bold as I am, as outspoken as I am, but I hope that once you understand your full greatness, and that there's no need to divide yourself from others. There's no need to put other people down. There's no need to be afraid of people who are different than you. And because I'm covering a lot of different areas here, not just one type of person whose solar plexus is out of alignment, that you would be completely unstoppable. And if you believe in the divine, who is God, that is what I think is something that the divine wants for us. Okay. So another sign that your solar plexus might be out of alignment is constant self-doubt, or you're fearing failure. Now, it's not uncommon for a lot of us who are the go-getters to have self-doubt or to feel like it'll never be good enough. And it's because we're constantly striving for better. So that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a negative, but it can be, especially if, and I'm calling myself out here. If you're the type of person where no matter how great it is, it will never be good enough. And that is also a sign of, you know what, I need to get back into alignment. And so I'm saying that to me too. Struggling with decision making or taking action. And I don't mean decision making like you can't choose a restaurant. Although that's a good way to start, is give yourself 3 options, pick one. And do not think about it, just pick one. If you don't like it, well, you'll know next time, right? But I want you to take those baby steps with decision making and taking action. Okay. I am the kind of person that if you give me too many options, now it's going to take me 100 years to decide, because that's my ADHD kick in. Digestive issues are another sign that your solar plexus is out of alignment. Bloating, ulcers, nausea, IBS. And this can relate to a lot of different things that you would need to go over with your doctor. But I can say on the spiritual level, it can also be related to past trauma, because we can hold on to trauma right here. All right. So this is why it's important to continue to work on your healing. People pleasing tendencies, or allowing others to overstep your boundaries. Like I said before, when somebody's disrespecting you, you tell them, you know what, I don't really like that word. And they use it anyway to describe you. Or I'm not really comfortable with this. And they do it anyway. That is them overstepping your boundaries. A person who oversteps your boundaries does not respect you. You need to check them ASAP. Okay. And I don't care if they get upset. They'll be all right. I promise. They'll be okay. They'll be just fine. People pleasing tendencies. Now, a lot of people who teach about manifestation have an episode about people pleasing. I'm not sure if I will yet. I'm not sure, because it might be too broad of a topic. And I could, of course, put part of it on Patreon and part of it here. But I do want you to work on, if you are a people pleaser, saying no. Now, fun fact here, no was my first word. So I guess I've never really been in the people pleasing mode, but I empathize. I do empathize, because because on the other hand, I do have the type of mother who is always a very strong presence. She has a very strong personality. So I grew up watching her be very much so like, I'm not taking shit from anybody. And so, of course, me watching that, my mom's Latina. My mom also came from nothing. We had this mentality. If you've ever heard this term, get it out the mud. Get it out the mud means essentially, I'm working as hard as I can, and nobody's going to stop me, and nobody's going to tell me that I can't. And every time you tell me I can't, or every time I see that you're upset because I'm doing it, that just drives me more. And so people pleasing isn't something I think that would be that great at teaching about, because I'm considered the opposite of that. I'm almost the extreme of that. I don't care what anybody thinks of me. So it is an area that I want to touch on in the future, but I need to figure out the best way to go about it. Okay. So give me some time. But if you are a people pleaser, what I do want you to work on is saying the word no. Okay. And telling people you will not disrespect my boundaries. Lack of motivation or feeling stuck. Now, younger people, because I have teenagers and people in their early 20s that tune into me all of the time. I don't want you to feel like that means that your solar plexus is out of alignment. That solar plexus is still developing for you. Therefore, that lack of motivation can come from a lot of things. It can come from depression. It could come from that I don't really know what I want to do with my life, and people expect me to have it all figured out by 21. And all of my friends are married by 25, and I need to do this, and this. I'm going to tell you from my own experience, no, you don't. You don't need to live